Hello, good morning, good afternoon.
Hey, hey, Andrew.
Hi. Hi.
Oh, so long time no see.
Long time no see. How are you doing?
Yeah, everything wonderful over there?
Everything wonderful over here, yes.
Okay, great. Yes, yes. Thank you for being our speaker. Yes.
No problem, no
Okay, let
problem.
me see. So, student will comes. Yes. Okay. Let me see there. Okay.
I do
Okay.
need to test the sound, whether the slide can play the
Yeah, Kina.
sound.
I'm calling the Kina. She will
Okay,
come. Yeah.
okay, sure.
She will help you. Okay.
Okay. Is everything okay in Seattle?
Yes, yes, yes. Today's yeah. When did you study at the Europe Tacoma?
Wow. UWT was 2006 to 2010.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
2006, almost 20 years ago.
Almost 20 years ago. That's
20
right.
years, yeah,
Almost,
yeah, you
yeah,
start.
20 years ago.
Okay, yeah.
Wow, that
Oh,
has been a long time.
okay, Kina.
Oh, hi everyone.
Yeah,
Hello,
okay.
hi.
Yeah,
Sorry, sorry.
walk it Andrew. Okay, so I'll be quiet. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So can we test whether I can play my
Yeah.
slide? 'Cause I do have a video on my slide. I just want to double check.
Yeah, I think you can test now.
Okay, sure. Give me one
Yeah.
second. Stand outside by reporter, Windows. 'Cause I haven't used Teams to share my slide before. Just wanna, how do I share my screen? Include sound.
You don't see the share?
After
Like
clicking the
on the
share,
bar.
yeah, okay. So after clicking the share, I see the shared content, including the sound, Windows, content from camera, PowerPoint Live View. Okay, let's try it this way. Give me one second.
Hello.
Hello, hi. Okay, can you guys see the screen, the PowerPoint slide?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, do you see it as the presenter mode, or do you only see the slide, the main
No,
slide?
that is main slide, not
Main slide.
present
Okay.
mode.
Okay.
Yeah.
Give me one second. Let me see if we can play this. Do you
Okay,
hear
we
the
can
sound?
hear that. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, great.
Wow, look like you have so interest presentation.
I hope so. I
What?
hope so.
Why did you select girls? Because you have a daughter?
No, no. Actually, that is a very famous comedian, the Louis C.K. Clip.
Okay.
I just selected it. It actually has a really good message to it.
Okay. Yeah, today just I will introduce you and then you will
Okay.
explain also your background, right? Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll do that.
okay,
Yeah.
great. So, you know what? Even if how many students come here,
Hmm.
so assumes you have a million student here, okay?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No worries. No worries.
Tina will start it, and I'll introduce you, and then it will be your show time. Some
Okay.
of them even they are on the train or bus, or some of them even working, or
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they are listening to so you are present, you are
Oh,
talk today. Yeah.
sure. Sure.
Okay. Yeah.
We can wait for like 1 more minute to
Mm-hmm.
start.
Yeah. So what time is it in Singapore now?
It's 8:30 in the morning right now.
Wow, so you could wake up. Oh my God.
You know me. You know me. I'm a nocturnal, so I usually work better during the night. So I
Okay.
specially dedicated this morning.
Okay. How about the weather over there, Singapore?
Singapore is it's right at the equator, so usually extremely hot. So I think the average temperature in Celsius is around 32 degrees
Oh my God. Okay.
on average. So yeah, it's very
But
hot.
this is winter time over there. It's cool weather.
It's winter time. We call it's a monsoon season, so
Oh,
it rains a lot.
I see.
The weather is humid and hot and rainy.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Yeah, I visited Singapore twice. It looks like
Mm.
a theme park. Looks like Orlando, Florida. Yes. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So, Kina, your turn now. Mhm.
Hello everyone, welcome to the ATC Invite to Talk series at City University of Seattle today. I'm Kina and I'm excited to be your host for today's session. Today's talk will focus on how to succeed in interdisciplinary work. That is a topic for everyone working in diverse and collaborative environments. We are honored to have Dr. Andrew Homin Park. Yeah, he's a lecturer at the SUSS Singapore as our speaker. He will share the key challenge and practical strategy for collaboration work. Okay, so let's welcome Dr. Park to begin today's session.
All
Okay,
right.
Andrew, give me just a couple of seconds. Before
Mhm.
starting this one, I'm so proud of inviting the Dr. Andrew Park. He was once upon a time, 2006 to 2010. He was my student, especially smart and secure computing research group. He was a student as an undergraduate, but he continued his master degree, doctoral degree, and then now he's working at this. One of the famous universities, Singapore University of Social Science, as lecturer. This looks like a UK style. This is assistant professor, and also you know what, because of your story, also you how you did this one for last 20 years, then it will encourage our student a lot. Please encourage us. Also, this is my turn. Every once per quarter, I'm inviting the one speaker, and Morgan is inviting two speakers. Okay, great. Have a good time now.
Okay. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning for me. Singapore right now is 8:30 in the morning, so I believe it's 5:30 p.m. in Seattle right now. So good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Homin Park. I'm a faculty member in the ICT program at SUSS. Um, back when I was in the United States, I went by Andrew. So, if that's easier for you, you can remember me as Andrew. Okay. Today, I'm very excited to share my journey and insights on thriving in interdisciplinary work. I'll start by discussing the key traits that contribute to successful interdisciplinary collaboration. Then I will walk you through two projects, two or three depending on the time, okay? Two projects I've worked on, one that succeeded and then one that failed. This is to highlight the valuable lessons from both experiences. Okay, my journey, okay, has taken me across multiple countries, shaping not only my technical expertise, but also my approach to collaboration and problem solving. So each transition brought new challenges, perspectives, and lessons. So to briefly tell you about my history, I was born in South Korea and moved to United States during middle school, around eighth grade, first settling in Dallas, Texas. A few years later, my family relocated to Seattle, Washington, um, more specifically, Federal Way, Washington, where I completed my high school degree and earned my Bachelor's of Science degree from the University of Washington, Tacoma, under the supervision of Prof. Sam, Prof. Chung. After graduating, I returned to South Korea to pursue a PhD in information and communication engineering. And with my PhD in hand, I moved to Singapore as a research fellow at the National University of Singapore, where I spent about 2 years working on various different AI related projects. This experience led me to another job as a research scientist at one of the Singapore's top government-funded research institutes, where I continued my work for 3 years. And eventually, I transitioned to academia at SUSS, where I now teach and conduct research on AI-related challenges, including the human activity recognition systems, sustainable cities, and cyber physical systems. Through these experiences, I've learned that the interdisciplinary success isn't just about the knowledge, isn't just about the technical skills. It's about, are you able to solve problems? Are you able to adapt? Are you able to communicate effectively? Are you a teamwork person, right? So these 4 traits, right, the problem solving, adaptability, the communication, and teamwork. So these 4 traits have been critical throughout my journey. And I'll use example from my own experiences to illustrate how these can make a big difference in this interdisciplinary collaborations. Okay, so now let's try to explore these key traits and see how they can help you thrive in interdisciplinary work. So whenever I try to describe what it is like to start an interdisciplinary work or interdisciplinary project, I say it's like making a pact, right? Why is that? Because at its core, a pact is an agreement. It's a commitment, right? So when we embark on a project that brings together professionals from different fields, different disciplines, we must all commit fully, okay? Why? In order to solve the problem, adapt to the unknown, okay? Communicate effectively, and ultimately functioning as a one integrated team, okay? Problem solving, okay, means that we must understand and integrate diverse methodologies and perspectives. Adaptability requires us to stay flexible and open to different ideas. Communication is not just about explaining complex ideas in a way that non-experts can understand, but this is also about listening actively. Okay. And lastly, the teamwork is about building trust, collaborating on equal footing. This is very important, equal footing, and resolving the conflicts constructively. Okay. So today's about me talking for about 40 minutes, right? 20 minutes Q&A. I believe we have a Q&A toward the end for about 20 minutes. Long story short, the one takeaway message that I want you to get is remember the keyword PACT, P-A-C-T. Okay. And can you guess what this is also like? Having a marriage. Okay, people get married because they fall in love. But over time they realize that love and interest alone, they're not enough for a successful marriage, right? It's about making a pact again, right? You and your partner must commit to solve problems together. They must stay flexible and they need to communicate effectively. It is quite well known that guys and girls, like men and women, they speak different languages. Okay, and ultimately, we have to be functioning as a team. Those of us who are married, if you're married, know that maintaining a happy marriage is not easy. It takes effort. Okay, the same thing goes for the interdisciplinary work. Okay. So before we dive into the actual 4 key traits, let's first talk about how we should start interdisciplinary work. Okay, just like starting a marriage or a relationship, starting an interdisciplinary work requires curiosity and a shared commitment from all interested parties. Let's take another example, right? So what would make you interested in learning a completely new language? Okay, for instance, if you're not from Asia, Asian language, right? Korean, is there anyone interested in learning Korean? Is there any armies here, right? If you're a BTS fan, you're one of the armies. if you're a K-pop fan, right? If you're a K-drama fan, if you watch the Squid Game from Netflix, right? Uh, yeah. Or any Korean cultures, right? If you're interested in them, this could spark your interest in learning the new language, right? Japanese, right? Personally, I'm a big fan. I'm a big animation fan. Okay, when I was very young, I tried my best to learn Japanese because I wanted to watch the Dragon Ball Z. Okay, the animation in its original form as it was aired in Japan, right? Final Fantasy. If you're a big video game fan, I wanted to play that game so bad. I wanted to get the Japanese version. Want to play, right? So this curiosity leads to the commitment, right? These interest leads to the commitment. Now, the curiosity and commitment is very, very important because why? Of course, it starts the project, it starts the work. But when you're learning, when you're going through something very new, when you're learning the new language, it is almost certain that you will face many challenges. Okay. This means that you need very strong motivations to push forward and not give up along the way. Okay? So the same thing applies to starting the interdisciplinary work. Everyone must be curious. Everyone must be motivated to identify and solve a common problem. Okay. Moving on now, let's say we started an interdisciplinary work. You met the other professionals from different fields. Now everyone is well motivated, and we have the curiosity to explore the new ideas. Then, okay, the very first trait that I want to talk about is the problem-solving skill. Okay, I'm pretty sure most of us here today have heard about problem-solving skill, very important, right? Especially for interdisciplinary problem, we must note that, for these kind of problems, interdisciplinary projects and problems, we rarely have a simple, straightforward solutions, okay? Because they involve multiple factors, diverse perspectives, and complex interdependencies. So if we approach this in isolation, we are risking of missing the deeper connections, or in the worst case, we are solving one issue while creating another issue. Okay, so this is why I'm introducing you something called systems thinking. Okay, this is essential for interdisciplinary work because when experts from different fields collaborate, they often bring in new and unique methods, okay, assumptions, and unique priorities. Okay, for example, a scientist and an engineer may all approach a challenge very differently. Okay, so the systems thinking provides a common framework. Okay, so this will help the team to recognize how their contributions connect, influence one another, and shape the bigger system. Okay, so let's take the climate change as an example. Okay, so addressing this isn't just about science. Okay, the climate change is not just about science. It involves economic, it involves the infrastructure, it involves technology, and it also involves the governments. Okay, if each discipline works in isolation, they might create a conflicting solution. Okay, so the system thinking, okay, ensures that all parts of the problem are considered holistically, okay, which will lead to a more sustainable and effective outcomes. Okay, so for this, a useful tool you can apply, you can use to apply the system thinking is something called the iceberg model. Okay, just like the actual iceberg, okay, most of the system's real structure is hidden beneath the surface. So at the top, we see the event. This is the visible issues like rising healthcare costs, the urban traffic congestions. I'm not sure how it is like because I know I lived in Seattle long time ago, almost 20 years ago. Back then, I-5 traffic was wow so bad. Every morning traveling from Federal Way. No, I actually did not work, but when I wanted to travel from Federal Way to Seattle every morning, the congestions were so bad. Hopefully it's better now. Okay. So these are basically the surface events. Okay. So below this, we find the patterns and trends, right? Recurring behavior that tells us if this issue is a part of a larger problem or not. Okay. Going deeper, we uncover the underlying structure, the systems, the policies, the incentives that reinforce these patterns, right? And at the very bottom, we have the mental models, deeply held beliefs and assumptions that shape how the system operates. Okay, so by applying this iceberg model, interdisciplinary team can move from reacting to the surface level, discussing on only the surface level issues. Okay, we can move from that to addressing the root cause. Like, what is causing this issue? What could be the root solution, right? What is the most effective solution to actually handle this common problem, and which will lead to a long-term and meaningful change and solutions at the end. Okay, next is the adaptability. Okay, so interdisciplinary work, okay, as I have already mentioned, and as we all know, brings together experts from different fields, okay, each with their own ways of thinking, own ways of solving problem, and own ways of approaching the challenges. Okay, while this diversity is very, very powerful, it also means that the rigid thinking, the stubbornness, right, thinking is not going to work. Okay, so the ability to adapt is the key. Okay, it is to embrace the new perspective, adjust strategies, and navigate the uncertainties. Okay, this is what makes the interdisciplinary collaboration successful. Now, as I mentioned, I was born in South Korea, but I moved to States when I was around, when I was in middle school. One thing that I learned the key skills that I learned from my life during the stay in United States is the debating. All right. In South Korea, throughout the years, like, you don't really learn how to debate, right? And when you debate, you need to keep your stance. You need to articulate it. You need to argue for your stance. But what you also learn in States when you're going through this debate class is that you learn how to listen, and you learn how to embrace this new perspective. You don't always say, oh no, you're wrong, you're not right, but you learn to adapt, you learn to listen, and adapt this new idea, right? And then make it as yours, if you agree to that, right? So coming back, if you stay within the mindset of your own field, your own expertise, you will struggle to integrate ideas or find common ground with your team. Okay, so adaptability allows us to observe new information quickly and apply it effectively. It also allows us to adjust our approach when faced with unexpected obstacles. It also allows us to collaborate better by respecting, okay, and incorporating different viewpoints. So think of a biomedical research team, okay, developing a new medical device. So engineers focus on the materials, the technologies. The doctors will care about the safety, the usability, and business professionals will consider the market viability, right? If each expert insists on their own ways of doing things, the progress will stop, okay? But when they remain flexible and open to learning, they can align their goals and create a solution that works scientifically, practically, and commercially, okay? Of course, adaptability is easier said than done, okay? I understand, okay? Of course, as a speaker, it's easier to say it, but, doing actual practice is quite difficult. So one of the biggest challenges that I noticed in interdisciplinary work is overcoming the biases and overcoming the resistance to the new approach. Experts, like if you have a PhD, if you're a doctor, if you're a professor, if you're like a CEO of a company, if you're the lead director of some company, tech development, these experts, may resist, okay, methodologies outside their own discipline. Okay, why is that? Because due to the unfamiliarity, because they're not so sure about this, they're not so sure whether this can be successful or not, or they might have the skepticism. Okay. Also, excuse me, the institutional and cultural difference may discourage the collaboration, okay, making it difficult to integrate ideas across the different fields. And also the interdisciplinary work often challenges the conventional thinking, how you think usually, right? This will require you a mindset shift to embrace the new idea. So if we want the interdisciplinary team to succeed, we must actively work to break down these barriers, okay, foster open communication, and encourage experimentation, okay, even when it's challenge, even when these challenges establish the norm, okay. Do note that interdisciplinary problems don't usually have straightforward solutions, okay, and they may take a very, very long time to have a result. I'm talking about years, maybe 1 year, maybe 2 years, okay. So that means what? We must be able to recognize when my strategy isn't working, and we need to change course. We must be able to bridge the knowledge gap by learning from one another, and we must remain open to unexpected insight that leads to breakthroughs. Okay. Next is the communication skill. Give me 1 second. Okay. Next is the communication skill. So again, interdisciplinary collaboration isn't just about bringing different experts together. I mean, if you had all these experts together, right, standing alone in isolation, it's not gonna work. It's about making those different voices truly understand each other. Okay. So here I actually attached this famous, illustration here: blind people touching the elephants, right? Everyone is explaining it differently, right? The blind touching the leg is like, oh, it's a big pillar, right? The blind who's touching the stomach was like, oh, this is a big wall, right? So this is actually, every expert speak differently with their own perspectives, right? This actually, if we consider this actually requires the one essential skill, as the slide shows, the communication. Okay. So I personally believe, from my experience, that this is the most important trait that everyone should develop if you want to succeed in interdisciplinary work. Okay. When working across disciplines, people often speak different languages. Okay, not Korean, not English, not these. Okay, not in the literal sense, but in the way they think, in a way that they process information and solve problems. The engineers, scientists, the business professionals, and the governance people, they may all look at the same issue but describe the problem in a completely different way. So without the clear communication, ideas get lost, collaborations break down, and progress stops. So what communication skills are essential for interdisciplinary work? Okay, so I can maybe break it down into 3 different skill sets here. Okay, the first skill is being able to translate the complex ideas for different audiences. Okay, it's like being a teacher. Like when you teach a university student versus when you teach the kindergarten students, your language must change. Okay, your vocabulary must change. Okay. So coming back, one of the biggest challenges is that every field has its own jargon, okay, its own assumptions, the ways of reasonings. So if we want to work effectively across the disciplines, we must bridge these language gaps, okay, and explain ideas in a way that makes sense to everyone involved. So in fact, we must avoid excessive technical terms, okay. So I am an AI specialist. So if I say, hey, in order to train this AI model, you need to fine tune these hyperparameters. We need to use this proxy anchor loss functions, right? This has this gamma weightage with alpha, beta, if I explain all this, use all these technical jargons, the non-AI expert will not understand. Okay, so avoid excessive technical terms. Explain the concept in a simple and relatable ways. Okay, and use analogies. Okay, or use the real world examples to make ideas more accessible and understandable. Okay, and make sure that you check for understanding. Okay, don't assume everyone interprets your explanation the same way. Make sure, ask, hey, everything clear, right? Is there anything that I can do for you to explain this better? Like, is there any confusion? Do you need any clarification? Keep on check. Okay, don't say, hey, do you really understand, right? Don't have that negative perspective, scolding someone like, do you really understand? Like, are you good enough to understand? No, not that. It's just, checking, hey, is there anything that I can do to help you understand? So example here, right? So image, assume or think about an AI research or AI researcher as myself explaining a machine learning algorithm to a medical doctor, okay, saying, hey, our model uses the backpropagation with gradient descent to optimize the loss. Might be technically correct, but it means nothing to the doctor, okay? So a better approach would be, hey, our system learns from the past medical cases, and adjusts itself. It's just like how a doctor yourself refines your diagnosis based on your experiences, right? So having that, relatable terms will make more sense for the doctor. Okay, the second skill set that you need to acquire is being able to actively listen and ask the right question. So good communication isn't just about speaking, it's equally about listening, okay? When working across the discipline, we must listen actively, okay? Not just to respond, but to understand different viewpoints. We must ask clarifying questions, especially when something isn't clear. So as a student, I need to ask the teacher, okay? And we must encourage open dialogue, open discussion to surface the hidden assumptions and biases. Okay. In interdisciplinary setting, often the breakthroughs happen not when someone's explaining something. Okay, this is quite interesting, right? So the breakthroughs happen not when someone is explaining things very nicely, but when someone is listening deeply enough to connect the ideas that was not very obvious before. Okay, the last skill that I want to mention is the third one is being able to adapt your communication style based on the context, just like what the teacher would do. Okay, so effective communication also means the adjusting how we communicate based on the situations. So if you're presenting to a mixed discipline team, okay, try to focus on the clarity and relevance. When you're explaining things with experts in other field, okay, another field, okay, specifically, use a structured explanations, but have some respect, okay. I'll actually bring in my own experience later. Having that respect for the other field is crucial. And also try to facilitate collaboration. Okay, make sure that all voices are not make sure that all voices are heard and not ignored. Okay, so long story summarizing, a great communicator is like a translator, a connector. Okay, making sure that different disciplines don't just coexist but actually work together seamlessly. Next, I'm going to show you a very short clip. If you like stand-up comedies, you know who this is, but we'll take a look at it. Okay, it's about 1 minute. Okay. If you know, you know. Okay. If you know, you know. This clip actually it goes on for about 2 more minutes, but I just cut it here because we get the message, right? So now, this guy here, name is Louis C.K. He's a stand-up comedian. So showing the why I showed you this is because do you think the Louis C.K. here? Do you think he can be successful in interdisciplinary work? Okay. Try to think about it just by looking at the traits that he just showed you. Like, do you think he will be successful, right? I do believe that he definitely have the patience. Okay, he's answering all the questions, right? 'Cause I do have kids. I believe some of you also have kids, right? When kids are asking when they start to ask these why questions, usually their intention is not because they're interested, okay, in knowing. Of course, sometimes they are interested in knowing about the more details, but usually, they want your attention, okay. Um, you know, Coming back, he's answering all the questions. Okay. Now, is the child good interdisciplinary teammate? Mhm. Okay. I do have a mixed feelings for this. It's yes and no. Yes, because she's actively participating. Okay, has a curiosity. Okay, but going back to that communication, is she asking the right question? Right? She just keep on saying why, right? So, hey, basically this clip, I just brought a very short 1 minute clip to highlight, okay, and refresh our atmosphere, okay, because I don't want to dump you all the text, all the technical details, all right? So think about it, communication is extremely important, okay? So PAC, right? Problem solving, adaptability, communication. The next trait is teamwork, okay? So the last trait, okay, again, the interdisciplinary work is more than just bringing experts together. I said this over and over again because this is important, okay? It's about making them function as one team. Uh, and teamwork in interdisciplinary setting is not just about corporations. It's about learning how to think, how to collaborate, and solve problems as a unified group. Okay, but this isn't always easy. We all know, like working as a team, right? Working on a team project is not always easy, right? And this is even more challenging when different experts from different fields come together as a one team, right? Because each field has its own way of approaching the problem, its own way, own priorities, and even own assumptions. So even without not even, but without strong teamwork, these differences can lead to miscommunications, conflict, inefficiency, sometimes even a fight. Okay, but when interdisciplinary team work well together, they can achieve far more than any single discipline alone. Okay. So what makes teamwork in interdisciplinary work unique? Okay. So interdisciplinary teamwork is different from the convention teamwork, okay, within the single field, okay, because it requires the mutual respect, okay, acknowledging that every discipline brings a valuable expertise, okay, and it requires us to be willingness to learn, okay, being open to the ideas outside of your own comfort zone, okay, and also a collaboration over competition. So focusing on shared goals, rather than the individual success. Okay, we must move and we must solve the problem as a unified team. So think of a space mission. Okay, scientists, engineers, maybe medical experts, and astronauts. They must work together. Okay, if they don't communicate and trust one another, small misunderstandings can lead to a catastrophic failure. Okay, the same applies to any interdisciplinary team. Success depends on how well the team integrates diverse expertise into a shared solution. So, how do we build a strong interdisciplinary team? Okay, first, we must have clear responsibility. Okay, each team member must understand what they are bringing to the table, okay, and how their responsibility or how their job scope fits within the bigger picture, okay? So do not have ambiguity, okay? The ambiguity leads to inefficiency, while the clarity drives productivity, okay? Second, we must provide psychological safety, okay? This means that the team members must feel comfortable sharing ideas, asking questions, and challenging the assumptions that you just introduced, okay? If the teammates, if your colleagues are fearing criticism, this won't work, okay? The teammates will not contribute fully, and the team will lose the valuable insights, okay? Third, we must have constructive conflict resolutions, okay? Differences in perspectives are inevitable. You cannot avoid this, okay? You will have a difference in perspectives, but they should be the source of innovation, not the tension, okay? If you look at a successful team, they usually embrace the diverse viewpoints. They do have constructive discussions. You know, they do have disagreements here and there, okay? But they're open to it, okay? And they will find solutions that integrate multiple perspectives effectively, okay? So coming back to the summary slide. So if you want to succeed in interdisciplinary work, you know, try to build a pact, okay? As I mentioned, long talk, right? About 40-minute worth of talk. You know, if there's any takeaway message that I want you to have is remember the 4 keywords, PACT, pact, okay? You must have the problem solving skill, the P, allowing you to understand and integrate diverse methodologies and perspective. I introduced you the systems thinking, right? Also the A, okay, adaptability requires us to stay flexible and open to different ideas. C, communication is not just about explaining complex ideas in a way that non-experts can understand, but it's also very importantly about listening actively. And lastly, the teamwork is about building trust, collaborating on equal footing, okay, quote unquote equal footing, all right, and resolving the conflict constructively, okay? Now, I am going to introduce you, maybe, let me see, I'm not done yet, okay? Maybe one, I think that for the time being, maybe I can introduce you to two cases here. So I'm going to give you some idea, okay? I'm going to introduce the project that I worked on before. Maybe try to guess, okay? You know, try to guess whether this project flied well, okay? So example case number 1 is that I worked on an AI project, AI, the smartphone app project, which was designed to track someone's diet for a health interventions. So objective for this project was that we wanted to make an effective diet tracking app that can nudge the users to a healthier diet behaviors, okay? And what we did was we hypothesized the influencing factors on food photo taking behavior. Now, this is an app, right? Diet tracking app. So users take photos of what they're eating, okay? So we also wanted to quantify the variations in the food photo taking behaviors across different app types, okay? So these were the objectives. Now, team composition. The principal investigator, the PI, okay, was my advisor at that time, not Prof. Chung, okay, not Prof. Chung, another institute, okay, was my advisor at that time. He was a human-computer interaction expert. I call him, I think I can refer him as a behavior scientist, okay? The researcher was me. I am an AI model expert, sensor data analysis, and expert in sensor data analysis and system design. Now we had another teammate developer, was a master student. Okay, he was an expert in app development, front end, back end, pipelining. He was basically a computer scientist. Right, diverse field, right? So with this team composition, what we did was we basically wanted to develop this app okay, to help people to be mindful of their diet, right? So we built this convenient mobile photo-based food logging app, okay, using the state-of-the-art deep learning AI technologies. Now, the app that we created automatically, we try to make sure that it automatically recognize the food that you ate and keep track of the calories, right? And maybe, nudge you or inform you of your own diet behaviors. Okay. And what we did is that we found, after actually while we were developing this app, we did extensive study on how people capture their diet. Okay. Why? Because most of the conventional app, not our, of course, our app as well. Most of the apps, the diet tracking apps, actually suffered significantly from the inaccurate food recognition. Okay, and this actually led to an ineffective diet tracking result. And why did this app suffer so much? Because take a look at all these photos. Like there are different styles, different behaviors when you're found when you're taking a food photos. Okay, it's very diverse, very diverse. So in order to identify this variation, this diversity, we first collected thousands and thousands of photos from 5 different applications, apps, namely the Instagram, Table Check, Glycolip, Food Allergy, the Nibble. These are all applications, smartphone apps that actually post and captures the food. And these apps were then categorized into 4 different types, namely automatic, professional, family, and public, depending on who is viewing the photos that you uploaded. Okay. Now you can see, I'm not going to cover all the details, all the numbers here, but my team basically did a lot of work to analyze the different photo taking behavior. Like coming back, why did we do this? Okay, because we want to make sure that our diet tracking app can accurately recognize the food. Okay, and the issue was that, okay, it starts to kind of highlight, right? The issue here was that my PI was a behavioral scientist. I was AI expert, and the master student was the backend front-end developers. Now, what we have here is we have the hierarchical vertical relationships, right? Basically, it's like a master and slave relationship, right? So when my PI said in Asian culture specifically, when the PI, when my advisor says this is right, it is right, right? In Asian culture, right? So as a researcher under the supervision of my advisor PI, I did not have a strong voice, okay? And the way he explained things was on the behavior science viewpoint. Like he was always thinking, why would this people, why would this user actually take this photo in this way, right? So you can actually see on this table at the far right, right? Like for example, in Instagram, why would someone post a grocery, the ingredient prep photos? Like why? Right? And his answer to that was because of the image management. So meaning that the user wants to manage his or her public image, indicating, they want to showcase that, oh, hey, I'm actively, participating. I'm actively aware of my diet. I'm a healthy person, right? So he was focused on this behavioral science viewpoint. And while back then, I did not have a good communication skills or teamwork skills, I was an AI guy. Like I was worried, like, why is this AI model not being able to classify, right? So, and we were always having this argument, discussion, hey, we should tackle this problem in an AI model perspective. We should, use this state-of-the-art technology to make this model, recognize the food more accurately. My PI was like, you don't make sense. Like, why are you considering it in such a way? That doesn't make any sense. Sometimes he actually called me stupid, right? Literally stupid. And that actually demoralized the teamwork, right? And then back then, I did not have a good communication skill to persuade him, right? And Of course, is when there's a conflict, it's bidirectional usually. I usually call it bidirectional. So we actually did not had a strong mutual respect, right? So my PI was always demoralizing me. I did not understand like why the heck he's talking about all this behavioral science thing, right? And then the master students, right? He kept silent, right? It's Asian culture, okay? So did not work so well. Okay, did not work so well. Now, example case number 2. Okay, another one. This one actually, there was another project. This is a more recent project that I worked on and I'm working on right now. Is AI for land flow prediction. Okay, so what this is about is basically we want to make an AI alert system for a potential landslide. Seattle has a lot of mountains, right? Korea has a lot of mountains. Singapore is a very small city state. It's like half a size of the LA. Singapore does not have a mountain, but it has a lot of rainfall. So what we wanted to do is when there's a heavy rain, right? The mud actually slides down from the mountain, right? Basically, so what we wanted to do is we wanted to make an AI system to predict whether there will be a landslide. If there will be, where will it start? And also we wanted to make an AI system to predict then how far would the landslide go. Okay. So then we asked, okay, what kind of data set is available? What is the data? What is the data set showing us? What is the most suitable AI model? To actually actualize this concept. Now the team composition for this is that the PI, the investigator, was my colleague. Okay, he was a good friend of mine. We've known each other for 7-8 years now. He's a geotechnical engineer. The co-PI was me, expert in AI models. Now, what we have here is that we have horizontal relationship, right? The PI and I, we play golf together, we play tennis together, right? We discussed a lot, we meet almost every week. So this is a horizontal relationship, right? We can have some productive discussions, okay? So whenever there is a misunderstanding, I can fairly ask him, hey, that doesn't make sense. Like, can you explain, right? Like, what is this? Like, because I'm not a geotechnical engineer expert. I'm not a land guy. I'm not a landslide guy, okay? So all this data, he tried to explain, like, the elevation, the slope, right? How much of a soil is on top of this slope, right? What is the friction between these sand molecules, like what is the effect of the rainfall. Like he tried to explain all this. It took a year. Okay, it took a year for me to fully understand. Okay, so now I kind of get it, right? Now I'm not saying you need a PhD in a geotechnical engineer to collaborate, but you need some understanding, right? You need to understand the bigger picture. You need to understand, okay, so what is he talking about? When you talk about the landslide, when you talk about the rainfall, like what is it? What are those technical terms that he used to explain the phenomenon, right? And once I understood that, then I then was able to tell him, okay, that makes sense. Now, for that problem, this AI model may work, right? And then I had to explain him like what this AI model is all about, and that took months. Okay, and then once we mutually agreed that okay, that sounds good, right? And then we start to develop, we start to experiment, and we start to do the research. Okay, so this one was very successful. We are working with Singapore government. We are working with the Korean government to actually develop this. I am actually working on developing an interdisciplinary master degree, a certification course in my university that actually covers this topic as well. Okay. Now, I think it has been about 40 minutes now. Is it more than 40 minutes? Maybe 50 minutes. Now let's try to conclude the talk, okay, by showing you a picture of pack of wolves, okay? A lone wolf struggles to hunt and survive, okay, while a pack drives by sharing responsibility. Okay? In research, industry, or academia, the interdisciplinary teams address complex challenges more effectively, okay, than isolated specialists if the team is a well-functioning team with the PACT trait, okay, P-A-C-T. Okay, so that was my talk. Thank you guys. Thank you for your attention. All right. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to ask questions away. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Park. I think it's was a great presentation. Because you cannot read the chat, right? You cannot read the chat here, right?
Cannot
You
see the
cannot check the chat.
Cannot check the
Okay,
chat.
so I agree that one of our students said that this is the best presentation. She have experience at CTU. Well, very appreciate that, and it's a perfect deep into and breadth of the topic. Yeah.
Okay. Thank
And
you. Thank
if
you.
anyone have any question, just raise your hand and speak out. I think because Dr. Park cannot read the chat, so if you can just raise hands and speak out, it should be better, and we can have good communication.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation.
Oh,
Oh, okay. So first, let me take it out. Okay. Thank you. I enjoyed your presentation. Then when I
Thank you.
presented here, nobody say you are the best presentation. Oh my God, you got it. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Also, you know what? Would you explain some kind of a little detail about your AI model? So that part, how you can do that. Okay. And also,
Okay.
Morgan, if you speak out later, talk about your what is it? Text message here. Okay. Just to talk about your what kind of AI model, or did you use a deep learning model, large language model? Briefly talk about that. Yeah.
Okay, sure. For this successful project, so what we did was we used the deep learning model, especially it calls the segmentation model. So what specifically its model is called the alphabet U net. So what this model is doing is a deep learning model. It's the computer vision model using the convolutional filters. Now I'm using the technical jargons, right? So what this model is about is given, so for example, on the left side, we have a lot of layers representing the rock elevation, the soil depth, rainfall. What it's doing is that, because we have a data set saying that, hey, after raining how much, this location right there with these elevation, soil depth, rainfall, and all these friction parameters, this is where the landslide happened. So we use this information to train the model so that at the end, what happens here on the right side is that they predict, you see the red, small red rectangle right there, it actually predicts where the landslide would occur. So we use the model called, here it says a vision transformer VIT, but while we were having that experiments, we initially thought the vision transformer would work the best, but we found that it didn't work. So we actually moved on to the UNet, and UNet actually works really nice.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, Morgan, your turn. Yeah.
I truly enjoyed what you were talking about. And one thing that I was hoping you could, two things, discuss was the importance of setting a lexicon in language, because if you talk security or you use a specific term, like network, it can mean something totally different to a social scientist than it can to someone there. That's part one.
Sure.
And then two, excuse me, can you talk about the importance of learning teamwork skills? Because STC is famous for having a team project in every course, which is of concern to a lot of people, because you know how hard it is. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the question. So about the communication, right, with different people. So what I learned from my own experience is, first of all, when two people come along forming a team with a different background, like now you don't know the common languages. right? And even so, for example, one person from security, one person from network, right? If you meet one network expert, if you meet another network expert, now these two people also have different languages, not about the technical terminologies, but how they interpret the information. They have different ways of thinking. So what I've learned is that, as a teacher, as someone who needs to explain things, I need to quickly find out like what is the language that he or she is very used to, right? So for example, if you are talking to a network person who likes to have the real world explanations, I quickly adapt to that. So I actually try to bring in from the illustrations like in real world like blah blah yeah, right? But if there's someone who's more used to the mathematical terminologies, then I try to quickly adapt and explain everything in the mathematical term so that he or she can understand better. Now that figuring out that common language that he or she likes, I think that's the key part. It's just not me explaining things, but it's about like, do you know what he or she is used to? Do you know what's the favorable language that he or she will like? So figuring out that is key part. Second part about the teamwork. Wow, in our university, like we try to do the teamworks, and I actually involved in many different teamworks. Yeah, it actually causes a lot of issues. Now, learning to be a teammate actually needs a lot of time. I think the most important aspect, coming back to that pact, right, trait, is the openness. Like, are you able to be are you able to be patient while the others are explaining? Like, because it is slow progress, right? When someone is trying to explain, they're trying their best, but it takes an hour to explain and you're not understanding anything. You're like, oh, my hour, right? But you must be patient, right? And then you must productively tell the teacher who's explaining that you're not understanding. If it is not working, you must tell them it is not working, right? So that the teacher can find a new approach to explain things better. I'm not saying, hey, you don't make sense, you sound stupid. I'm not saying you should say that, right? But in a more productive way, you should say, hey, it sounds like it seems like it does not, that your explanation does not really work well for me. Can you try to find a different way to explain, right? Have that positive, constructive feedback so that you can actually quickly adapt and find a new common ground. Okay, hopefully that answered your question.
Hi, Dr. Park. I have a question. My name is Clark.
Yeah.
So, because teamwork has been around for many, many decades or whatever centuries, even team projects, ever since academia, like we have those. My big question is always, team projects has been there for a long time. Why do we still experience a lot of big friction? Wouldn't like academia or other lecturer would provide a great simple framework for everyone to lessen that blow or friction? Because it's always a friction whenever there's a new team and no one has like frameworks to deal with those.
Yep. Thank you, Clark. That's a very good question. So the framework do exist, right? The framework do exist. The issue is that it's not the absence of the framework. Like there's so many different frameworks. Everyone has proposed a novel framework saying that it works really nice. Like the systems thinking framework is a framework with the iceberg, the interpretation framework, right? But the issue that I found is that it's not about the framework, it's about individuals, right? Or do you have that flexibility to be, to work as a team, right? You can have all this good framework, but if you're stubborn, right? If you do not have a good communication skill, the teamwork would not work. So it's not, I find that the success in teamwork is not, you cannot acquire the skill like in one semester and 1 year. It's a lifelong learning experience that you need to learn how to communicate, like just like how the marriage works, right? when you first get into a marriage or in a relationship, in Korea we call it the honeymoon war, right? usually because the two person came together, they speak different languages, right? Now they fight a lot to figure out, okay, this is your line, that is my line right there, don't cross it, right? And then we learn how to communicate effectively so that we can deliver the message effectively. Now that happens with the teamwork as well, right? You meet new team members. Now that's totally new person. It's like you're starting a new marriage, right? You need to start everything over, right? So the conflict and friction is always there. It's just that, do you know how to reduce the duration of a conflict? Do you know how to reduce the tension? Resolve the tension as soon as possible, right? That is a interpersonal skill rather than those technical framework and following these guidelines, right? It's more about the mindset.
Yeah, because especially to follow up, sure, marriage can take a long time, but team projects last just a quarter and you might end up with new team members. And it would be
Right.
always an awful experience if you don't get your same team members, right?
That's right.
So now the question now there is, sure, people still need to work on their flexibility, on their communication skills. Like I'm thinking about team building, but that doesn't work because like in student setting, they just sometimes collaborate. What would be like good questions to open up so that we reduce this duration, especially if the other party has still areas of improvement to collaborate, right?
Mm-hmm. I think that's a very good question. So what would be the practical solution, or maybe a practice that we can, immediately adapt to actually, reduce that tension duration, right?
Yes.
One thing that I teach my students usually is when they first meet, okay, I encourage students to have a roundtable discussion, okay, roundtable discussion. So meaning that, you sit in the roundtable and then everyone has a chance to talk. You cannot shy away from it. You have to talk. It's just that, given a same project, right, the same common problem that they face, they first need to articulate whether do they understand the problem or not. They try to use their own voice to articulate. Now that actually, kickstarts, and it allows people to, it gives the participants to have a chance to listen to your teammate and see what kind of languages, what kind of characteristics that your colleagues have. And what we do is that after everyone explains, is that I suggest students to provide a constructive feedback and ask clarification, ask a question that requesting clarification if there is any uncertainties or any ambiguity. Now that setting, at the very beginning setting, actually allows or equip the students with the mindset, okay, so now I can speak up and I'm receiving constructive feedbacks. I'm not getting scolded. I'm not receiving negative feedbacks, right? So this actually it actually kickstarts that positive atmosphere, right? So it's different from coming into the team project and everyone's like cross arms, like everyone's just looking at each other, right? And like maybe someone's thinking like, do you know this, right? It's different atmosphere build up, right? So if you start by having that positive atmosphere, I usually see a better outcome out of that. So,
Hey, one of my job is to finish this one on time. Kina, there is the one student. Harrison, you raised your hand. Do you have a
oh,
question?
hi.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, from what I'm getting here, you obviously have to learn how to convey your ideas
That's
and
right.
interpret the information that other people give you.
Yeah.
So I think that maybe we should all take an education class or course.
Mm. I strongly agree.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so maybe try to be a teacher to other people,
Yes. Yes.
right?
That's a very good point.
When
That's a
you
very good
because
point.
when you're teaching, it's just as you said. When you're teaching, you have to be aware of the other people's perspective. Now they're aligning with yours, finding the common ground, and then convey the information in a way that we can all collaborate. That is actually pretty quite true because I don't really have as much of a teaching experience as you do, but I did teach. I taught little kids. I also taught my peers in terms of like learning new languages and also with basic principles of coding and things. So having experience with people from different age groups, I kind of figured out that yeah, sometimes it's the approach and um, the way that we convey the information, and we have to take in account of who our audiences are, who are the people that we're working with. So yeah, totally agree. Totally agree.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for the great point. Yeah, I 100% agree. I 100% agree. One thing that I noticed is that this top university professors, right? They're very good at research, and sometimes they have very monotonic lecture styles, right? They don't really pay attention whether the students actually do understand or not. They have a lot of knowledge. It's just that they're pouring the knowledge onto the table, right? And hoping that students actually capture. But as an educator, what we need to know is how to teach, how to adapt, right? So yeah, thank you for that point. Yes,
Yes. So
you
to
should
add,
think, yeah.
right. So to add to that point, I'm gonna go back to my experience teaching little kids how to code because the thing is that I know a whole lot, and I want to make sure that they also learn about everything that I know. But obviously, that is not possible. So we have to take it slow, see where they are, and don't always expect that they will come out the gate understanding everything that we're trying to tell them,
That's right.
obviously. And it's not just only for kids. When we're working with people from different backgrounds, different culture, or even like different work style, you cannot expect them to be like getting you like 100% out of the gate. Yeah, it's a gradual process where you would expect that it's not just the knowledge that you're building, but also the connection and the
That's right.
and the sense of trust. That's what I'm getting.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for
Yeah.
the great point. Yeah, I agree.
Oh, I think that's good. Fantastic discussion. Thank you, Dr. Park, for answering our question, and thank to everyone for your participation today. We truly appreciate your engagement, and we hope you found this session valuable. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Okay. Yeah,
Thank you.
Andrew,
Thank you,
don't leave it
Park.
there. You
Thank
and I, we
you.
need to have